Good day, students. Welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. My name remains Daniel Aruwaradi. I'll be teaching you literature, and today we want to look at a non-African poem, Caged Bird by Maya Angelou.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Maya Angelou is a renowned African-American human rights activist, poet, and TV presenter. And it's important for you to know that the poet is a protest poem. So what are you going to learn from this? First, you'll be able to give us a background to the poem. You would be able to explain the themes, the central themes in this poem. And you'll also be able to identify the figures of speech that has been used in this poem. All right, to the poem itself. The first stanza says, "A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips its wings in the orange sun rays, and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down its narrow cage can seldom see through its bars of rage. Its wings are clipped, its feet are tied, so it opens its mouth and sings. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind, don't forget, and floats downstream. But a bird that stalks down its narrow cage cannot see through its bars of rage. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. Its tune is heard on a distant hill. The caged bird sings of freedom." Now the free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trades wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky its own. But the caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. The caged bird sings of freedom. Now let's look at the meaning of the poem. The poem is a metaphoric presentation of the oppression suffered by the Afro-Americans in the American society. Before now, you would have read texts which involves black men being oppressed in American society. It's important to know that these themes are connected. The first stanza is a graphic presentation of the height of freedom the average American enjoys. The average American is very free, like the free bird. It says the free bird floats on the back of the wind, and then it floats down the stream, and then dips its wing in the orange sun rays, and then dares to claim the sky. That is the nature of the American man, the average American. He is very free in his territory to do whatever he wants. He can take opportunities. He has access to everything that the state offers. So what's the big deal about the use of the word but, B-U-T, but, in the second stanza? Let's answer it together. The second stanza presents us with a contrary situation just as graphically as the first. We could see how free the free bird was, very free. But immediately, in the next stanza, we see the use of but. But is a contrastive conjunction used to introduce the other side or a contrary situation to the first one we saw. The cage bird has its wings clipped, its feet are tied, he is in a bar of rage. He cannot see through. His vision is limited. His hopes are truncated. Everything he has ever dreamt of is now in the cage. He cannot see and he is in rage. He is angry. So the poet says he's behind the bars of rage. This gives us a picture of a prisoner. A prisoner cannot dream of playing football because he's in the prison. What does the cage bird sing of? The cage bird sings of things he's not sure of, but he longs for it still. And what is this thing that he sings of? He sings of freedom. Isn't that paradoxical? A big paradox. Someone is locked up somewhere and the person is dreaming big of achieving great things in life. How possible is this? Well, this only means that the poet has given us the only weapon that the black man has, which is the weapon of his voice. He can sing, just like the bird. The bird cannot do anything with his hands. He cannot do anything with his wings. His wings are tied. His wings are clipped. His feet are tied. But he has a voice. And so he opens his throat and sings. He sings of freedom. He does not sing because he has freedom now, but he's singing with the hope that freedom will come, clamoring for freedom from his slavery. The first stanza reinforces the freedom of the average American man in his country. How? While the cage bird is not even sure of anything, the free bird has enjoyed an opportunity and now thinks of another. So we hear the poet says he thinks of another breeze and trades soft winds through the sighing trees. Now, we have a rhyme there to show how the breeze affects the trees and how much the free bird enjoys this. He can continue to fly out of his position, continue to fly, continue to enjoy everything that he wants. Don't forget that the free bird metaphorically represents the American man, the average American, while the cage bird represents the black American or the black man living in America. This poem is written in the 1950s and by Angelou, just to expose the racial sentiment and discrimination that was very common amongst the whites or the American people. Now he moves freely, that's the free bird, with great delight to take those huge opportunities. What was the object of representation of these opportunities in the poem? He says he sees fat worms on a dawn bright lawn, just like anyone wants to take the biggest meat in any plate. The free bird can also see very fresh worms to go and pick and eat and enjoy himself. The free bird here represents the American man. He sees opportunities, he simply goes for them and enjoys them. But this is not the case with the cage bird. He even has the opportunity to dare the impossible. In the first stanza, we see it dip its wings in the orange sun rays. That beautiful image. When the sun rays reflects on the sea, it tries to sweep those rays with his feathers and then flies. He even dares what is impossible. But that's not the case with the cage bird. The cage bird does not have this opportunity. In the fifth stanza advances a Gothic image of the effect of the cage bird's suppression. His dreams have been compared to a grave. They are dead and even stinking. It says that a bird that stands on a grave of dreams. That's a powerful metaphor. The dreams of the cage bird or the dreams of the black American has been submerged and even dead and buried, because the grave represents something that has been killed, destroyed, and even buried. So he doesn't have a dream. He cannot even fulfill those dreams because of this separation, segregation, dehumanization, and oppression of black men in America. He is now a shadow of himself, and his unfulfilled dreams and hopes brings him episodes of nightmares. He said his shadow screams, nightmare screams. Now, the question here, is the caged bird hopeless? Of course not. His legs can't move around, but his voice can move. So he sings, whether by any chance salvation will come one day. Okay? So the last stanza is totally the same as the third, and it emphasizes the essence of the poem itself. Though with a fearful enthusiasm, the caged bird sings and clamors for freedom, regardless of his vague and uncertain future. So the caged bird continues to sing of freedom. His voice is not quiet. And this is a model of a protest against any act of racism or any act of suppression and segregation. So what are the themes in this poem? First, we have birds in their natural habitat. In the first stanza, we saw how free the bird was, moving around, flying and daring things that any man would naturally not dare. Then the next is the beauty of nature. The beauty of nature is greatly enhanced in the first stanza too, because we could see the sun rays, we could see the beauty of the sea, we could see the exploration of the sky by the birds, and so we get to enjoy the picture, the vision of nature itself. Next, we have racial segregation. This is the most profound, or the profoundest of all the themes in this poem, because throughout the poem there's a contrast between two different persons, the caged bird and the free bird. The fact that the poet says he shows that he was not actually referring to a bird, but a person, the American man or the black American. And both of them have different kinds of life, even in America. While the free bird enjoys everything he wants, there is a segregation. There is a discrimination against the black. Next, we have dead dreams. The dreams and hopes of the black man is suppressed because of this kind of slavery that he goes through, the black man goes through. And then we have a burning desire for freedom. This is why the poem is a protest poem, because the poet persona speaks out and cries the heart of the average black man in America during that period, which is the cry for freedom. What are the devices we can find in the poem? We can find alliterations in the poem. We see something like trade soft wind through the sighing trees. So we see soft and sighing, repetition of the same consonant sounds. So there's a repetition of same consonant sound in the poem. And we have other ones. We also have the use of metaphor, which is very, very prominent in the poem, where the poet compares the American man to the free bird and the black American to the caged bird. Then we also have imageries, as I have mentioned earlier, the pictures, the beautiful pictures that we could see. And of course, even the tying of the hand and the clipping of the wings, gives us a sensation of being tied, and that is exactly tactile imagery, what the black man goes through during that period. And then we also have repetition. As a matter of fact, a whole stanza was repeated in this poem, and that is the third stanza and the last stanza. That's to tell you the emphasis on the cry of the average black man, which is the cry for freedom, the cry for freedom. So the major theme projected by the use of repetition is slavery and freedom, or a quest for freedom. Then we also have personification. A lot of things were personified in the poem. We saw that the breeze, the trees were sighing. Well, the only thing that only humans really have the capacity to sigh, to breathe in and then breathe out. That's only human. That's a human ability, but it has been transferred now to a non-living object. All right, then we also have other ones like enjambment. The poem, each of the lines, the thought in one line runs into the other. So when the thought in one line runs into the other, you have an enjambment. And then there's an hyperbole. Severally, the free bird tries to claim the sky or names the sky its own. Of course, that's not possible. It's just an exaggeration. It cannot claim the sky, or the sky cannot even be its own. And we have other ones like allusion, irony, onomatopoeia, the use of sounds, and many more. All right, so we have a practice question here. Examine the use of imagery in Caged Birds by Maya Angelou. Examine the use of imagery in Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. Now, of course, you are expected to follow the pattern of answering questions which I have shared in earlier versions of or earlier classes or previous classes. Of course, you want to first of all identify the themes or the central themes in your introductory paragraph. Now, please note that whatever theme that you're sharing must be in line with your question, must be related to your question. So that's why we call it theme relation. I advise that when you try to answer this question, you have a pen and a paper beside you. Outline your choice of imageries. Then each imagery must have a theme linked to it. Those are the themes that you should share. So after you have outlined the themes and you have introduced what the poem is all about, then you go ahead to pick one paragraph each to explain the different types of imagery that you can identify. There are quite a number of them. The first, we have visual imagery. And we can see that in the picture of the free bird in the first stanza. So we have the picture of the sun rays, the river, and the sky. All these are things that we can visualize and see while we read the poem. Then the second, which I mentioned in the course of my teaching, was the tactile imagery. I'm sure you know what these reflects. While the visual imagery reflects the beauty of nature and, of course, the freedom of birds in their natural habitats, the tactile imagery reflects the pain, slavery, and suffering of the average black man in America. And finally, we have the auditory imagery. The first point where we find sounds being released that are familiar to us was where the caged bird sings. And we can begin to imagine or hear the sound of birds or the voice of somebody, a human being, singing. And then we also hear the trees the trees sigh. This gives us an idea of what happens when strong wind blows through some trees. It gives some signs like whoo, and that sound is familiar to us. So it's audio, it's auditory, it's an imagery cast on our mind. After doing this, then you're expected to conclude. Give us a conclusion. Tell us what Maya Angelou's view is about the free bird and the caged bird. And your conclusion must always be that the caged bird sings of freedom, is enslaved, his rights are taken away, is discriminated against, but he wants freedom. Thank you for listening. If you have questions or comments, please, you can reach us on our social media handles displayed on the screen. Thank you.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.